We are live.
Yo.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
By that, I mean there's probably nobody in here yet.
But there will be when
there
they
will be
rewatch
people
it.
watching. That's a good
Yeah,
point.
you didn't think about that.
Good
did ya?
afternoon.
Hello.
Good evening.
Yes.
And good night. You know where
Good.
that's from?
Good tomorrow. Yeah. From Good Night, Good Luck.
No, it's from the Truman Show.
Well, let's also do that in Good Night and Good Luck. I think. Right.
Yeah, I don't know what movie that is. So it's fun.
It's nominated for Best Picture. No big deal.
So I actually have a funny thought on that.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I like this. A pre-show thought.
Well, no, I was gonna say.
Oh, you're gonna say no.
But, yeah.
Sorry, guys. I thought it was gonna be special. Just for
Yeah,
you.
my bad.
No. All right, let's do it. I do have to work at some point, so no big. Ready?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, hello. It is the Go Birds podcast presented by the Bet Parks Sportsbook and Casino app. Elliot Shore Parks, James Seltzer with you. Day 14
Yeah.
of our daily pods on the which doesn't even
They
count the
don't stop.
weekend days.
Yeah,
too.
it's more like
It's really been like day 18 or
Yeah,
something
good
like
math,
that.
quick
Of
divide, yeah.
something like that of straight pods. And we'll end somewhere like, close to 30. Pretty crazy.
I mean, I'll just
20-something,
say,
you know?
I think we're the only Eagles pod that's done every day since.
Oh, without doubt. I
Yeah.
I've noticed maybe some others say,
Yeah.
daily pods. Where'd
So
you get that
there's
idea?
only one spot to go for your daily Go Birds.
Which is the original daily. I mean,
It is
you
the original.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
one pod started doing
One
it at
pod-
the beginning of the playoff run.
One pod is going to have an impact whether they win the Super Bowl by doing a daily pod every day.
Yeah, I mean,
And the other one's not. Other ones.
Good morning.
So
How are
good
you?
morning. Good.
It is
Good.
morning for us.
So today is kind of the beginning of it all.
I think so too. I feel
Yeah.
like the last 3 days have all been about reacting to the fact that it happened. It's
Right.
like the Eagles are going to the freaking Super Bowl
Yeah,
like
there it
that
is.
for the last 3 days. And now it's like, all right, Super Bowl, baby.
Well, also from not just from us like mentally, but the Eagles. I mean, today's the first day that they're gonna have practice. They have a walkthrough. Today is Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I think they practice on Friday and Saturday, but they have some version of practice. The next 3 days, they're going to talk to the media the next 3 days. Sunday, they fly to Phoenix. They're going to get in at around, I think, 5 o'clock Eastern time, 3 o'clock my time in Arizona, which I guess is Mountain time.
Yeah, I think it's Mountain
Yeah.
Time. 2 hours back, Mountain Time.
It's an awesome, name of a time.
It is a good
Mountain
Yeah,
time.
Mountain
Like, Eastern
Time.
time is, I get it. We're on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And I guess there's mountains there, which is why they call it that, but it just sounds cool.
I guess there's mountains there.
yeah, there is. I've seen them, actually.
The Rockies.
Yeah.
Shout out to Philly. How about
So on
that?
Sunday they fly into I didn't think about It's a good one. Maybe Eagles fans should go and put a Eagles jersey on a Rocky Mountain in Arizona. Does Arizona even have a thing?
The Grand Canyon.
Well, no. Well, yeah, I guess you can't put a jersey on that. That's not, it wouldn't be
throw
as
it
powerful,
into
yeah,
the
having
vast abyss.
float
Just
down.
Float down. There you go.
So Sunday they
We're not
arrive.
playing Arizona. You'd really want to go to Kansas City if we're doing.
That's
the
a good
whole
point.
trip,
Yeah, I
right?
didn't think about that too. What does Kansas City have? See, that's the thing that the Eagles have.
Barbecue.
But I feel like the issue with the Rocky statue is that other cities don't really have that thing.
I agree.
You know?
Remember how dumb it was when we played New England? They're like, our Rocky statue. It's like, you're Rocky. No one cares about your stupid Rocky statue.
They
It's
have a
not-
Rocky statue?
Yes, remember that whole thing? They had their own Rocky statue.
No,
It was
I
like-
don't remember.
And
this.
no one cares. It was like no one cares about your dumb Rocky.
They have a statue of Rocky.
I believe so.
Why?
I don't remember. I don't remember this whole thing. It happened.
Whatever. So on Sunday they fly to Phoenix, and then from there, that's it. Then
That's
it's a
it.
media night. It all begins. So,
All right.
So these last 3 days have kind of been the last 3 normal type days for the Eagles.
Yeah, and then it's go time.
Normal-ish. I mean,
Normally, all right. So let's just get that out of the way, and then we'll get into having some fun about talking the Super Bowl storylines.
Oh yeah.
You don't want to talk about it, but just get Josh Sills as far away from the Philadelphia Eagles as possible. I know he's commissioner exam. I would have just cut him. I just been like, sorry, man. Out,
Mhm.
out. Get the bleep out of here right now. Is
Yeah.
what I would do. Just go away.
Yeah.
It's annoying that this is something we even have to think about, and horrific if true, which we'll see. But horrific.
If true.
Yeah. I can't say on a podcast things I want to say to this guy.
I agree,
So,
yeah. And-
get the earmuffs 1, 2, 3. Get the fuck away.
Yeah.
Is my official
And
take.
he is away, right?
You get further away.
Yeah. So I think I mean it's just it's disappointing on every level,
It's
right? I mean,
horrifying.
It's horrifying. It's
disappointing.
terrible.
Undersells it.
Obviously you feel bad for the alleged victim, right? Like all those things. So yeah, it's a terrible situation. And then, it feels gross even talk about the football side of it, but then it is like they're preparing for a Super Bowl and this is not a distraction. It's not even a distraction really because he's just gone. I mean, I guess I can't speak for the players in the locker room about the fact that he's now gone. But yeah, I mean, it's also one of those things where you see the news and you're like, wow, you never expect to see, like the Eagles, I don't know them all super personally, but like, it's just crazy to think you normally see that about other teams, right? You don't normally see the Eagles involved in stuff like this. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure. Yeah, it's very disappointing. And it's good that he's away from the team.
Yeah. Cut him. Get away.
I do wonder if legally they were allowed to cut him.
So I think that's probably what it was. Like, and I was,
right.
And there's a lot of stuff we don't know with like their statement, what they could say, this and that, all that type of stuff.
What
legally,
they know, like
Players Association, there's all this stuff. So, and look, like, he hasn't been convicted and all, like, there's all this stuff to it. But like, as far as I'm concerned, go away.
And that's what they did. Yeah. He's away.
As much as I guess legally they could.
Right. But there's really, in actuality, there's kind of no difference between what they did and actually cutting him. I guess you could argue cutting him would have sent a stronger message. Yeah. But in terms of like getting him out of the organization,
he's out.
He's out. Yeah.
All right. Let's talk Super Bowl.
Yeah. Let's talk.
Will not be a part of that thing.
No, I think that's safe to say.
All right.
They do have an open roster spot now.
Oh.
Signed T.O.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk Super Bowl storylines because to your point,
let's do it.
This is I feel like we're turning the page a little bit.
Yeah.
Like next week is technically Super Bowl week, but it feels like now we're starting to look ahead a little bit. And I don't think we're quite ready to get to the matchups and that'll come next week. We'll really break down the football game.
That's really scary.
Elliot. We need to get Elliot to stop looking at stats because the more he looks at stats, the more nervous he gets about this game. Just feel it, buddy. We got this.
Can I get one off my chest?
Sure. Throw it out there. And then we'll get in the story.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we would all agree one thing that's made the Eagles great this year is they get teams in like second long, third and long situations, right? The pass rush gets there early. They get them in long distances. And because of that, they're able to really pin their ears back and attack the quarterback. The Chiefs, from my research last night, are maybe the best team in the NFL at not putting themselves in negative situations. They don't really get penalized on offense. They almost never do like turnover-worthy plays. They're second in the league, I think, in sacks allowed on offense or something like that. And then I looked it up last night. This is what I spent my night doing. The percentage of throws that Patrick Mahomes has had at like 11 plus yards, so you're like second and long, third and long, whatever, is single digits, like 8%. Every other quarterback I looked up, and I looked up 16 other quarterbacks, were all above like 12, 13%. So this Chiefs team does not get into second longs, third and longs. Now, maybe the Eagles will be able to do that because that's what the Eagles are good at doing. But my concern is that all year the Eagles have been able to get offenses in bad situations. I just don't know if that'll happen against the Chiefs.
I'm happy you got that off your chest.
Thank you.
You stop looking at stats. You're getting way too nervous. The Eagles are better. They're better at like 16 positions. Relax. Right. We got this. All right. Let's rank some Super Bowl storylines because this Super Bowl actually really does have a lot of unique, fun storylines to it. I mean, we're going to get into them all, but the Andy thing, the Kelce. I mean, the fact that no brothers have ever faced in a Super Bowl before is astounding. Like, you would think with the amount of brothers that pass through the league. So let's get into it all. Let's start with the personally, I think the clear biggest storyline of this Super Bowl, right or wrong, and we can debate it, is the Andy thing. I mean, the fact that never in the history of the league has someone had so much success with one franchise then face them in the Super Bowl with another franchise. No, never in this year league has someone had this much success with two franchises.
Has a former coach ever faced this? I guess John Gruden did that.
Gruden did it literally.
Has any other coach? Yeah.
I'm sure it's happened. We could go through. I mean, I'm sure there's a couple others.
It is wild in retrospect. They traded Gruden and then faced him in the Super Bowl and lost to him.
Well, I mean, that was a specific thing where he knew their whole offense. He knew
it's a crazy
they beat them by 30 points almost because it was like Richie's talked about this on the air. He's like, they knew our calls, like everything we did.
That's so dumb by the other team.
Because Richie has killed Bill Callahan for years. He's like, he was a horrible head coach.
Yeah.
Great offensive line coach, horrendous head coach. He didn't change anything. He didn't do anything different.
It's bad head coach.
Yeah, bad head coach. So that obviously unique example. But no one in the history of the league has ever had as much success with 2 franchises. No one has ever had. I mean, Andy is like the 5th most in wins ever or something like that. He's going to go down like top 3 in wins in the history. He might be first by the time he's all said and done. He's only 64, 65,
Yeah, I think he's going to be the best head coach of all time.
And he's got Mahomes. I know you do.
Yeah.
And look, he could if he keeps
I think he might already be.
No, he needs – Belichick has 6 Super Bowls. Stop it. He needs – Andy has 1. Andy has 1 Super Bowl. 1.
I know.
1. But that is nowhere in the hemisphere.
But ask yourself this. If you had this – if you yourself, not like
Belichick.
You would take Belichick.
In a second.
Okay. Right.
In a second. Prime Belichick. I mean, Belichick's older now.
Yeah, take whoever at their prime. Whoever you think their best version of.
I think Bill Belichick is the best coach in the history of football.
Okay.
Period. End of statement.
I do not.
I know you don't.
Yeah.
The Andy thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I have an Andy thought.
Well, just the uniqueness of the fact that the guy who we followed for a decade here, the guy who really, or longer than a decade, 14 years, the guy who really, and I think Howie has long since passed him in terms of meaning to the Eagles and in terms of, last Super Bowl, this Super Bowl, who gets the most credit for all this stuff? It's Howie. But like Howie doesn't exist without Andy. Like the Eagles as they are now, Jeffrey Lurie, this whole way of going about business, the way their philosophy as a franchise, all this stuff is all directly related to this guy they're facing in the Super Bowl.
And the thing I think that they took the most from Andy, and it's not a crazy new age idea, but I do think
trenches.
The trenches. Yeah. I think like that's the thing, that's the Andy thing that has been left from him. But
and also it's just the infrastructure of a franchise, the way this team goes about their business. A lot of it is descended from Andy.
Yeah, and also you figure,
and Joe Banner deserves credit too. For sure, big part of that.
Jeffrey Lurie,
Lurie learned from those guys, and Lurie's become amazing. But
Lurie became a great owner because he was around Andy for all those years, right? And,
absolutely.
And it's a lot like and look, Nick's in this conversation in 2 weeks. But when we talk about best head coach of all time for the franchise, best quarterback of all time, the fact that Andy and Donovan didn't win one complicates the conversation. But if you just want to be realistic about it, Andy is the best head coach in the history of the franchise. It's not even a question or a debate, but because the Super Bowl, I mean, again, guys mean in terms of wins, whatever.
He is the most accomplished Philadelphia Eagles coach, and again, outside of actually winning the Super Bowl to the point we just made, he has had a bigger impact on the franchise than any head coach in this.
Yeah, 100%,
without a doubt.
So here's my Andy thought on the whole thing. That look, we did the Andy Reid Appreciation Day here at WIP. I'm a certified Andy Reid appreciator. What he did was amazing here. Those years of the early 2000s were unbelievable. If I'm being completely honest, I don't think the Andy thing really does it for me in the Super Bowl. It just doesn't. It doesn't work me up. Maybe it's because I don't harbor ill will towards him.
Yeah.
But maybe it's because I was 13, 14 when he was at his prime here, right? And I did cover him for 1 year, but I don't know him super well. I don't know. It's cool. It's a fun side topic, but for me, it's not my favorite story. I'm way more into the Kelce Bowl. I'm way more into Mahomes.
We're gonna get.
I know we will, but I'm just saying.
That's interesting.
I'm just saying, the Andy thing for me. I understand for older Eagles fans, people 50 plus, guys who really were at the vet, those type. I understand why it means more to them, and I get it completely. And to your point, it's crazy that it's happening. I just wonder for this specific podcast audience, how many people would agree with me on saying it just doesn't work me up like you would think it would.
So we'll get to Hurts Mahomes because I think that is underrated. The best.
Yeah, I think that is. Yeah.
But the Andy thing is way more interesting to me than the Kelce thing. The Kelce thing is cool and fun, but it's just two brothers. The Andy thing is the guy who built this franchise. The reason we're here, part of the reason we are here facing this guy today or this week,
right,
is because of him and the groundwork he laid. And look, I don't harbor ill will towards Andy. I certainly don't. I'm not one of those people who's screw the guy and all that.
Yeah.
But I do. I was there. I was old enough to remember it all. I hated him in the playoffs. I was literally in the room the day he left the Eagles. I was working with the Eagles. I said, and he was awesome. He was super nice.
Yeah. But I guess that's what I mean. I think it's easier. I think in sports, the Carson thing. I was worked up about the Carson thing because I lived it. I had feelings on it. I had emotions on it. With the Andy thing, I just don't really.
And
Because
again,
he was here, he was great, and he left.
Yeah, I don't harbor, especially because we want to. If we had not won that Super Bowl, like I actually might be like, screw you, Andy, I want to beat you.
But do you think he cost them Super Bowls?
Yes,
I don't know. Like the end of,
course.
I know the
think
end
they
of the
should have
game
won
in
a Super
04.
Bowl when he was here. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
He's the worst in-game playoff coach we've had. He was a disaster.
Donovan wasn't great either.
They
though.
both were.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
the combo.
Right.
It's the combo, and that's part of the reason I'm not as big a Donovan guy as you are. I think
Yeah.
Donovan was great, but like, sorry, man, you came up small when it mattered most. Like, you know me, you know my philosophy on sports. I'm always gonna take the guy who came through in a big spot, even if his career is. Yes,
I agree with that. That's my
flags
thing
fly
too.
forever. Like
Yeah.
that is my
That is
that is my
yeah.
ethos as a sports fan. So, and look, again, it's nothing personal against Andy, but the idea of beating Andy in the Super Bowl does appeal to me. Like that sounds fun to like beat Andy Reid in a Super Bowl, and then on top of that, just the I do think there is something really unique and really cool and really fun about it from just a Eagles fan. If you live through those Andy years, that you're going up against that dude. The Super Bowl, like, it feels like
again, I agree.
It feels like a storybook type of thing.
It is crazy. It's cool. It's an awesome, like, if they were playing the Bengals, you know,
none of that.
Yeah, that's like,
so much less.
I'm happy they're playing the Chiefs from that regard. But let me ask you this: do you think it'll hurt more because they lose to Andy?
No, I don't care about that.
See, that's kind of where I'm at. Where I feel like if, let's say, the Eagles played Carson in the Super Bowl,
I just think it's more the storyline of it. It's not the joy of beating Andy. Like, I'll get a little bit of like, oh, that was fun beating Andy, but it's more that it's like, it's so cool that we're facing Andy, and that makes the game feel bigger to me. Not that it's like the anime. Like, I can't. Like, if you're right, if it was Carson, I'd be like, I can't wait to beat Carson.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think
this
there'd
is
be way more
absurd
emotion
hypothetical. Carson would never play the Super Bowl, but
who knows? Maybe he was a backup.
Some got hurt in the game.
Exactly,
coming.
Right.
You're right. Good point. It's third stringer. So we need 2 injuries in the game. But, you know, maybe an injury in the game
saw
before.
the Niners.
Exactly. So for me, it's not the animosity to anything, but I think it's just the uniqueness and the fun of it. And again, like, it really is. No one's had this much success with 2 franchises, and they're facing in the Super Bowl. It's like wild. It's just a wild thing.
So here's
wild thing.
Another Andy thought.
And real quick, just because since Andy left, we've all talked about it. Like, oh, Doug, that year when we went to Super Bowl, was like, oh, Andy can get there. Like, it's like facing in the Super Bowl has just been such a thing that it's come up. It's cool.
I just don't. I guess what I'm saying is, I think just because of my age and your age too, to an extent, like, it just doesn't do it for me. I think the way it does for the older generation. I guess is the best way I can put it. But so here's my other thought on Andy. I don't care if Andy wins 4 Super Bowls with the Chiefs. He is an Eagle. Like, I think.
So this is. So I'm actually gonna have to strong this. I get your.
Well, let me make my point.
Please.
So I think
to us, but nationally we're talking.
Right? Nationally. Yeah. I think where if you start your career in somewhere that long and have that much success, that matters a lot. Like, he was known as an Eagle. He started as an Eagle. He was like, his career took off as an Eagle. And I understand he's having a ton of success with Kansas City, and there's going to be an argument for him to be a Chief. I just think, like, if we're all being honest with ourselves, he is an Eagle that is now the Chiefs coach. He is not a Chiefs coach that used to coach the Eagles.
So I look, I think he's the most unique. Like, he's kind of both, because again, there's so long and so much success with both.
It's a unique situation.
It's the most unique. It's the most unique. But even then, like, as I think you're being, Philly centric here. I think you're being a little, I think he's a Chief. And look, he won a Super Bowl with the Chiefs. He's going to end up having way more wins with the Chiefs. Like, he's already almost there. Like, he's linked to like 11, 12 games every 13 games. He only had 9-7 season once. He's never had a losing season there. He's never had a losing season in Kansas City. He's going to win way more games. He'll probably win another Super Bowl, Mahomes. Like, at the end of it all, he wins 2-3 Super Bowls in Kansas City, none here. He wins more games in Kansas City than he did here. He makes the playoffs more times.
How many does he have to win in Kansas City? Because he has only won 1 so far. I know it's 1 to 0.
Let's put it this way. I think he's already Kansas City. Like, I think Kansas City has claimed Andy Reid. He is especially because we won a Super Bowl without him. Like, I think that stuff matters. Like, in terms of legacy, in terms of history, like,
it's a good point.
Like,
in terms of
it's just what it is. It's just what it is. I think.
I guess there's no mixed emotion with him.
I think he is a Chief. He is, and it's okay. It makes it easier for us. I think he's a Chief now. Andy Reid is officially
your point
more a Chief than an Eagle.
Your point's a good one.
And no matter what, in the next 10 years or 5 years or whatever else he coaches, it's definitely going to go that way. Even if it weren't already, and I think it is. he will become a Chief for sure.
I think there's something to be said for the fact
he was
that
only in one Super Bowl as an Eagle. One. He got to the Super Bowl as an Eagle once. The
right,
whole
but he was also
national
in the
audience. But everyone in the
Conference
world
Championship.
watching him in the Super Bowl as an Eagle once. And this is the third time everyone in the world is going to watch him as a Chief.
I get that. But for what it's worth, I mean, he was in the Conference Championship 5 times.
That's not the Super Bowl.
I know it's not, but it's still a highly watched game.
It's double the viewership for the Super Bowl.
No, I agree. But I'm just saying.
Maybe more.
Like a lot of people watch the Conference Championship.
Sure they do. But again, like it's a unique situation. No,
it is. But I
feel very confident I'm right. Chime in. Let us know.
Dude, I'm not even completely this. I think your point about how the Chiefs fans can claim him, I think is a valid one. I do. Like that's a very persuasive point. I just think, and with a lot of athletes too, I think like if you start your career somewhere and are there a long time and have a ton of success, like you're kind of cemented in that way.
I get it. First impressions
because
and all that,
Reggie
but
White a Packer? I don't like.
No, but Reggie would have more success here
won a
longer.
Super Bowl.
Right, but he had more like
he had more individual
success. Like Andy has both won a Super Bowl there and had more individual success. His career record's better. He's going to end up having more wins. He's going to have more Super Bowl appearances, more Super Bowl wins. Like every metric.
Right. No, you're right. You're right.
Every metric will say Kansas City. Every single one, other than where he started.
100%.
And I get it. First impression
I think
matters.
where you started matters.
I do too, but I think there's a unique case where I think Kansas City has won him.
Which do you think he'll want to be?
Wait, Kansas City. I mean, he won Super Bowls there. Like, think about it. If you just stepping aside where you had your most glory or where you had your most, like, not failures, but where you couldn't get over the top, what do you change? You know what I mean? Like, it's so simple. It's like human being. All right, let's get on to the next topic because you did say you were, like, I think the Kelce brothers thing is super fun and cool. And again, the most stunning thing is that it's just never randomly happening with like a backup brother versus a brother, whatever. Like this is
I think that's what makes it cool is that
they're both massive.
They're not like number 53
all
pros.
On the roster. It's 2 first-team all pros going up. Brothers going. I mean, them as brothers to begin with, how great they are. Like they're in the running for greatest brothers in the history of the sport. Up there. But the fact that they're the first to play in the Super Bowl, the fact they have a podcast, they're both public and out there and all that stuff.
Well, they're both just awesome personalities.
And they're both awesome. And they both like go to each other's games all year.
Yeah,
like it is a really cool, unique story.
Yeah, and there's not even much to say on it. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome for Jason Kelce. It's awesome for Travis Kelce. I do wonder a little bit if it ruins the moment a little because
I'm sure there's a touch of sadness.
Of
course, but you're brothers too. It's not like husband and wife facing.
I also think though
there is a little competitive spirit.
This would be a lot different if, like, I think the fact they both have won a Super Bowl really
I agree with you. If it was like one winning their second, the other not getting one. Yeah,
then it's like, oh man, that's tense.
I agree with you.
2-1 versus 2-0
totally changes the dynamic.
Not a huge deal.
Yeah. Do you think? Like, and I'm sure they're gonna hang out this week.
They're doing a live pod. I'm pretty sure together.
Yeah, but not forget in front of people when they're together. Are they like, yo, man, we're better. Like, let's go player for player. Like, O-line, we got him. Like, do you think they do like those kinds that we have that we like? Are they doing that? I'm dying to know.
I here's what I'd say. I think they do, but I also bet you that when they're in the privacy and no one can hear it, I bet they're honest with each other.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm wondering. I'm like, are they honest?
I don't think they do it on like an irrational. Like,
that's
no,
what
here's
I'm
why
saying.
I think they do it.
I want to be a fly on the wall for them in like a hotel room, just hanging out, like a few days before the game, just talking about like the matchup. Like, so, I would kill for that.
I actually listened to their pod yesterday, and I literally never recommend pods on this pod because we're the best pod. But let me tell you, their pod is amazing.
Yeah.
Like
I've never listened. I probably should.
Dude, let me tell you, I'm certainly prone to recency bias and hyperbole. So this is no big like. I think it could go down as like one of the best pods ever. They just, dude, they have obviously such natural. It actually reminds me a lot of our pod, but like,
that was an amazing like flex in the midst of.
I'm just saying, if you've never listened to it, it is such an enjoyable, fun listen.
Cool.
You would think they studied it and like. It just shows how much just chemistry and personality matters.
And they're smart. Jason's
100%
smart. I mean, it seems like Travis smart. I know for a fact Jason Kelce is incredible.
He's incredibly smart. So here was a funny moment. So they're talking about how Devontae made the catch and how they hurried up to do it, right? And Jason goes, well, actually, whenever we make big plays, we always hurry up because and he talked about kind of why.
Which feels, we've seen that. Like this year. And they always move.
And then Travis goes, oh, I'm going to tell Spags that. And Jason goes like, oh, well, you would be able to tell that off tape. Then he's like, well, maybe I shouldn't have said it. So it is interesting to listen because
it's like,
now it matters, right? Like before. So
that's a really interesting
you could really tell.
Like, oh crap, I got to be a little more careful.
You could tell Jason in the moment like forgot. Like he was just talking and
To
then he
his
was like,
brother.
oh yeah, that's right. So it's a really interesting thing.
That is really interesting.
Yeah.
That is fascinating.
And I'm sure you can tell from watching, but
sure, but still, it's like,
and I don't think Travis is actually going to tell Spags, but
well, I mean, I'm sure, like, it's there, it's out there in the world. A lot of people listen.
Yeah.
That's
What would you do?
What do you mean?
Like, so let's say you have a brother.
I
I have
do.
a brother.
Shout
I have
out
a
to
sister
Peter.
too. But let's say my brother was
telling me how to pronounce Quinton Brunson
Exactly.
instead of King Ty. I was screwing that up.
like if you were on an NFL team and your brother was on an NFL team or whatever job you want to pick, and your
the
boss
least likely
Right.
hypothetical.
your boss sat you down and was like, look, like, what's his weaknesses? Would you answer? Like if a coach said to me,
if I'm going to face my brother in the
You
Super
would?
Bowl, yeah, absolutely, I would. I'm
I-
sorry, I'm trying to win a Super Bowl, man. We're brothers. We'll be good.
I don't know if I'd be
We are
comfortable.
competitors.
Like
I used
so,
to beat the crap out of my brother when he was younger. Like we're brothers. He's my younger brother. We used to play sports, and I would just like body him and beat the crap. Like, oh my
I don't even
God.
think it's now I think about it.
Brothers and competitive spirit.
I don't even think it's fair of the Eagles to ask that of Jason. I mean, seriously, like I know it's like on the surface, but think about yourselves in this situation, right? I'll say it for
I
me.
want to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
That's
but
my
by
philosophy.
selling your brother, by
selling, you're playing a game.
but
It's a sport.
You're literally
I actually have
exposing your brother.
inside information. This is great. I'm sure Travis will do the same. Go
But
ahead.
you're setting your brother up for failure.
My brother's going to be in the Hall of Fame. In both cases, I don't have to worry too much
Okay.
about a little bit of failure.
I
That's fine.
never put myself in that situation, but I'm trying to think if opposing coach, like, so my brother plays soccer and I played soccer. Let's say we were playing in the World Cup and the coach said, so Elliot, Jude's their best player. Like, what's his weaknesses? How do you get to him? I don't know if I could live with myself if I gave advice and then like he had a terrible game and then like he was, think about that. Like that, I get your point.
It's very sweet of you.
I'm just saying
I'm
though,
trying to win the Super Bowl, though. You know what I'm saying?
it's still your brother.
And
And you already won one.
My brother's a multi-overtime millionaire in this case. Like, lots and lots of money, has a wonderful life, has already won a Super Bowl. He can deal with it.
I'm
like,
just
that's
saying,
the way I look at it.
I actually,
Elliot would tank for the Super Bowl.
I actually, no, not tank. I just think like, don't put me in that situation. I wonder if it's like an HR violation,
It is
like
not,
exposing family
it
secrets.
is
Like,
not
I just don't think it's
that is
fair to
not what
ask.
an HR
you know, what could we do to Travis that would make him have a bad game? Like, think how dirty that is to ask of like your family member.
All right.
Just saying. I never thought about it till now, but now I actually feel really strongly.
Trying
about
to
it.
win the Super Bowl. All right, let's get to the actual best storyline of the game, which is not
Now
how
that
Bill
that
is
might
the
be
best.
my new favorite storyline.
The best storyline is Hurts Mahomes.
Yeah.
And you've talked about it in the sense that I think, what's in front of Jalen here in terms of, because even though he is second AP All-Pro team this year, he is likely to be either second or third in the MVP voting. We know he's top 5. My guess is since he was the second team AP, he'll probably end up getting second MVP if I had to guess, but he's going to be second
That's
or
a
third.
good point. Yeah.
He'll be somewhere that he was picked over Burrow and Allen to be that second team quarterback. That matters.
And he deserved it.
We think he deserved the MVP, but
Yeah.
whatever. But Jalen in front of him has a chance to. But even with that stuff, the point is, and he's 16-1, something he's not talked about nationally with those guys. He's gotten a lot of respect, more than he had and stuff. But Jalen is not in that class. We put him in that class.
Yeah.
But nationally, they still do the Mahomes, Allen, Burrow thing and the future of the football and all that. Jalen in front of him has the chance to put himself in that class, to be, and you said should be talked about ahead of Mahomes if he can beat him. And again, like the history of the game, the first time 2 black quarterbacks have ever faced off, which, won't be the last time.
Right.
The Mahomes of it all, the chance that Mahomes is going to be in search for a chance to win his second. Mahomes, pretty much accepted as the next Brady or whatever you want to say, the talent has a chance to start his ascendancy to trying to become the GOAT. Like, there's so many, just with these 2 guys in this game at the 24 and 27, like there is so much already, so much legacy and so much future, discussion and legacy around them tied to this game.
I will say, in doing my research for the Chiefs, I probably undersold how good Mahomes has been this year. I mean, Mahomes is unbelievable. The things that he does. He doesn't take sacks. He doesn't. I was flat out wrong about him being reckless with the ball. He's not reckless with the ball. That was wrong by me. And the numbers he put up, all those things. But I also think that if you look at it and Hurts wins, they're tied in Super Bowls, which is the ultimate thing, right? Hurts will have he's only really been a full starter for 2 years.
Hurts is the youngest quarterback
his
start the Super Bowl.
His win-loss record would be right there with Mahomes. I would have to think about it, but probably.
You mean just percentage-wise?
Yeah. I mean, if he's 16-1 or whatever this year, I know he was
17-1.
8-7 last year, or whatever. But you would think he'd be right up there with it, especially over recent. Yeah, I mean, my argument why I think this would be the most compelling storyline is just that if Hurts wins, he can stake his claim to be the best quarterback in the NFL. Like, he can absolutely. I think the important thing about the distinction is, do I think if Jalen wins, he is the best quarterback? No, you could convince me it's Mahomes still, right?
Sure.
But it opens the door for the conversation, and that's really all you can ask for if you're Jalen. Jalen would check a ton of boxes. He can run. He's a great leader. He can lead an elite passing offense. He showed this year he can do it. He's young. He can prove he can win in the playoffs, right? I mean,
by the way, to your point,
he'll be 3-1 in the playoffs.
We can finally get rid of the running quarterback is number one. Like, wouldn't that be great just to throw that stupid narrative out the window? I mean, the game is changing, folks.
Yeah, and also
it's going to happen at some point.
A lot of the running quarterbacks are also way better at passing.
Of course. Yeah, Jalen's not just a running quarterback.
Yeah. But I mean, that's a change
too. But I'm just
goal.
excited for that whole narrative to go out the window.
Like,
because that's when running quarterback can never win the Super Bowl. It's never happened. And like, even though guys like Wilson, I mean, Steve Young was great at running. We don't ever talk about that.
Well, what it really is guys that can't pass.
Right.
That was
the BS. And Jalen can pass. But I'm excited that it will just throw it out the window.
100%. So I just think like we talked about it yesterday in terms of how what was I saying? We talked about it yesterday in terms of how this season will be remembered as special, not for this moment or that moment, but for Jalen. It'll be remembered special for Jalen.
And Nick potentially.
And Nick, yeah. But if he goes on the biggest sporting event in the country,
biggest sporting stage in other than maybe like the World Cup.
Yeah,
maybe the world.
Champions
Certainly
League
the
final.
country.
Yeah, there's a ton of them.
Yeah.
But
it's bigger than the Champions League final.
In terms of watching, I'd be curious.
I think it is.
It might be, yeah.
I'm almost positive.
It might be, yeah. But regardless, the Super Bowl is the biggest sporting event. Like, there's no
certainly American number one American sporting event of the year. We can say that for sure.
We can just say it. We don't have to. I won't be annoyed.
Thank you.
That.
Please.
Yeah, no problem.
Jeez.
My bad. I know.
There's only one football.
My bad. You're right.
Only one football that matters right now.
My bad.
We did the World Cup thing, all right?
If he can go against Mahomes and win the game, and especially if he does it, if they win a shootout, right?
If he's the Super Bowl MVP,
think about this.
All these things.
Let's say Jalen plays the game Nick does, and it'll be a different style of game. But think about what that means. I mean, Nick, I think winning Super Bowl MVP never got the kind of gravitas it deserved in a way because he was never viewed as, okay, wow, this guy
even though he played a perfect game.
Yeah, but I'm saying when Mahomes won it was, well, he's next up. When Aaron Rodgers won it was, well, he's next up. Why can't it be like that for Jalen?
It should be.
He'll win it in his second year, just like I'm pretty sure
youngest quarterback to ever win
the youngest to ever do it, right? He will have, again, we've done this dance, but like he will have succeeded at Alabama, Oklahoma, like all these things. If he wins it, I mean, what's his argument not to be on the GOAT version of Madden with Brady? Like, why? What's holding anyone back from talking about him like that? He checks every box. So if he can go and beat Mahomes, and especially again, if they win at 41-33 or whatever, yeah, he is definitely in that discussion. I even think just being on the same stage as Mahomes. God,
I love this kid.
And I don't want to hype Mahomes up.
I'm so excited about Hurts.
Yeah, I mean,
just in general.
Yeah, and you should be. People definitely should be. Like, just him, the fact that on media night, it'll be him and Mahomes up there. And for what it's worth, we talked about the signage in 2017. I know Hurts is the quarterback, so that's why he's up there. But, you're not seeing posters of like Mahomes and Darius Slay or whoever. Like, he is getting the recognition he deserves as like, he's the guy on the team. He's the most important guy. I think he's probably the most famous guy, honestly, when you consider how long he's been in the public eye.
Probably, yeah.
Right? I think if you polled,
he came to the Eagles famous.
Yeah, he came to the Eagles.
We talked about that. That was part of the reason why a lot of us hated the draft pick when they happened.
Yeah,
it was
he
like
walks in that locker
it's not
room
like you're just picking.
Person.
I hate the 53rd pick for quarterback, but you're picking a dude everybody knows.
Yeah.
You're picking someone. They walk in, they're like, oh, that's Jalen Hurts.
They played in big games.
Totally.
So yeah, I mean, this is where he belongs in a lot of ways, and I just think, man, if he can win and he can beat Mahomes, it's not a small thing to say. The Eagles will have maybe the best quarterback in the NFL. And when you consider the importance of the position in the league, they'll have one of the most valuable, I don't want to call him an asset because he's a person, but if you consider, I remember when Carson was at his peak in 2017, I used to always think to myself, what would you trade Carson for? And I thought like there's no combination of players and picks. And, seeing how it went with Carson, I probably wouldn't say that again about anybody else.
Right.
But if Jalen wins the Super Bowl, I think the only person it probably even is Mahomes is the only person you consider trading him for. Like, even if the Chargers, like, we'll give you Justin Herbert and 2 first-round picks, I don't know. I can see the logic in it, but part of me is like, no, I think you keep him. So if he can win this, he becomes, again, arguably best quarterback in the NFL. He has a real claim of why he should be MVP. He's one of the best assets in the league. Like, he's everything if he wins this. And even if he loses, he still has a lot of those things. But it just, in terms of a storyline,
And that's what these games, and that's what, like, they always talk about. That's the Malcolm Jenkins speech, for the AFC Championship game. Like, even Hurts talked about, like, how do you want to be remembered? Like, we're talking about, and we talked about this a lot with the Phillies, and it was one of the more disappointing parts about losing the World Series, even though it was a great run. It was unexpected. It was so much fun. Save it. I like that. Yeah. But, like, part of it at the end was, like winning and losing is the difference between being a freaking legend and not. Yeah. Like, it just is what it is. Like, and these guys, and particularly Jalen Hurts, have a chance in front of them to become legends. And in this city, to become the legends of legends, to go down as the greatest team in the history of the sport, the greatest quarterback in the history of the franchise is in front of this kid.
And like, there's clearly the number one in the city too.
So much legacy and history and all that stuff that is tied to just winning this football game. So I'm right there with you. And I'm just excited for when Hurts wins Super Bowl MVP. And he's like, yeah, it's a great accomplishment. He's like, but we got a season opener next year. Get ready. One more, guys.
2023 begins today, right? But
by the way, my final thought for today is tied to something like that.
Okay, so let me get these 2 thoughts out. One, when we did the whole 2017 versus 2022 thing, I do think the Phillies run this year to an extent backs up why 2022 I think will ultimately be more special, because like the Phillies run was special for a lot of reasons, but it was because Bryce freaking Harper hit a home run. Like, the moments of greatness that he did made that better because he's already an all-time great Philly. So I think if Jalen,
they need those moments.
They need those moments
because that's the thing is like they've kicked the crap out of teams, and that
there's not those moments.
There's no moments. Like I
the
said,
quarterback sneak for a touchdown isn't a highlight play.
Honestly, I think only the Reddick play. I think, and we think about like the run before, we've got the Keanu Neal play, which isn't a good, it's luck.
Yeah,
the Keanu Neal play, the Julio drop, the Patrick Robinson, like there's the flea flicker, leading up to Super Bowl. And then the Super Bowl, obviously, got a million of them, including a freaking names play, which there's like 20 of ever. But we have those moments leading up, whereas this one, because they just whooped these teams, and it wasn't like flashy. Like the Hassan Reddick hitting Purdy's arm is like the only, I feel like, indelible, maybe the Devontae non-catch. But I mean, that's what I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, they're just so, it doesn't have those same
100%.
So do you think the Super Bowl,
push
thing, but we need the Super Bowl. Like, Jalen needs moments for it to kind of feel bigger. But either way, the legacy is what matters.
A quick Jalen thought. So we talk so often about like, why is he the way he is in terms of how he's, Brady and MJ like in his mentality.
His dad.
His dad's part. Like,
I mean, so much credit to the
how he's been raised.
Hurts. I mean,
also, it's crazy. He's a pretty low public figure.
Dude, I didn't even know his name was a variant until I saw it on Twitter. I had no idea what his name was.
Yeah. It's not surprising at all when you think about how Jalen
just introduced his freaking girlfriend. He's been an Eagle for 3 years or whatever, 2.5 years or whatever. Right. And we just found out he has a girlfriend. We just found out it. And by the way, flex. Like, what a baller group. To wait till after they go into the Super Bowl and be like,
She also seems, so she's been around, like, she seems like him in the way that she seems very like
old school, kind of cool,
suave. Like suave maybe isn't
like just it's a classic coolness.
Exactly right. Like she looks very like
put together. She looked great, and it was just
she's quiet. Like I don't mean quiet, but she's very like her and Jalen like walk with like an air of like
of dignity.
Yeah, exactly.
It's dignified and elegant.
Yes, that's
elegant
is the dignified and elegant.
Yeah,
perfect.
I'm with you, dude.
So I do think one thing with Jalen that I probably didn't think of until this week, but I think it's 100% why he is. Like, why is he never happy after a win? Why is he always chasing the next thing? And I think it's because if you look at his football life, whenever he's had success, it hasn't been good enough. At Alabama,
it's also been yanked from.
That's what I mean. Like at Alabama, he was like they were in the he won the national championship there. He had that yanked done from under him. He was benched. Oklahoma, he puts up.
By the way, for
numbers.
Someone who we now know years later is absolutely not as good as him. Sorry.
Yeah,
what it is.
So
2-1 there and all.
So whenever he's had success, Alabama yanked out from under him. Oklahoma doesn't win the Heisman. Like does all this stuff in college, 2nd round pick. leads Eagles to the playoffs last year. There's rumors about him being traded.
Like, he can't read the whole
yeah,
thing,
exactly. Right. So I think that what drives him is whenever he has success, he knows he's like experienced that it's never good enough. And I think that when you look at the 2017 team, nobody individually, but one of the problem with the 2017 team was once they won it, there was no hunger really anymore. Right. And so I think what Jalen has is even if he wins the Super Bowl and he gets his contract, I think, and it's almost tragic in a way, I think there's a part of him inside that'll never feel like he's safe, right?
This is Brady.
Yeah.
This is a 6th-round pick, can name every player who was taken it from. Same
right.
with Jordan, didn't make his high school team. Like all these things, the greats like that, the competitive greats. And you
right.
need to win to be.
But even those
But they always have these stories. They always have these things. Like again, the Brady can name all like that type of stuff. Like you always hear that Jordan didn't make, because Jordan told people that, because he was upset about it, because
right.
it stuck with him, because it mattered, because it fueled him. Like these guys take these slights and they internalize them and use them in a way that it makes them great. But, and every slight like adds to it.
Right. So I think I agree, and that's definitely part of it. I think a uniqueness with Jalen, it's probably because I don't know Brady and MJ's story as well, but like I think a uniqueness with the Jalen thing is that it's not just about the slights, it's about his accomplishments have not been viewed as they should, right? Like he's always been undervalued and undersold as a player.
I think that happened to other guys too. I mean, like maybe not Jordan, but I mean Brady, like the first 3 Super Bowls he won, Brady's not even that good. It was the defense that won.
Oh yeah, I don't remember that.
Oh yeah.
No,
I mean, Brady the first year was like a second-year player, just came out. You're like, and it was never. He only threw like 100 and some yards in that first Super Bowl and stuff. Like it was not. It was Belichick, Brady. It was the defense. It was the defense. It was Belichick and Brady. Doing a nice job. And then Brady, like the next three,
they know Brady all along. Yeah. But I just think what's going to continue to drive Jalen is a feeling of never feeling
good,
comfortable and safe. Yeah. And again, there's something tragic about that. But I think that's why you don't have to worry about if he gets the contract or they win the Super Bowl. I know he'll be the same guy because he's been the same guy despite having success. And I think that's a difference too when you think about Carson didn't actually win the Super Bowl, but Carson had never achieved that level of success that he did. Like Jalen's been on the biggest stages and won. And that's what I think makes him special.
All right. Any other storylines that stick out? I mean, obviously we've talked about the potential for it to be Jason Kelce, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, some like legit all-time Eagles last game with the team.
Does Brandon retire?
I don't think so. Does Jason? I think Kelsey's more likely to retire than Brandon if I had to choose.
When do they announce it?
When do they announce it? Is Fletcher Cox gone? It seems very likely. Like so, like these are 3 all-time Eagles who could become 2 or 3 of the like 6 only people on the planet who can say they won 2 Super Bowls for the Philadelphia Eagles. Like have a chance to do that, all that stuff. So
until Jalen, Devontae.
Well, at the moment, I'm with you, buddy. Until Jalen will be 2 or 3 and 4. No, but I do think that that's we've talked a lot about it, but that's an interesting storyline, at least locally heading into this. What are are there any other storylines that kind of pique your interest that you think? I mean, we have that Nick Sirianni getting fired by Andy. And I know that'll be talked about, but like feels forced. It feels
forced. He was not fired.
Are there any others that you find particularly interesting this week?
I mean. Like none, I wouldn't say any like huge ones. Like I've said, I do think this team is personality-wise set to really dominate the week. Like Slay, Mailata, AJ Brown, great personality. Miles has a great personality. Brandon, you talked about clearly.
Kelce.
So like they have a ton of really great personalities.
That's a great point. Hassan Reddick, like a lot of dudes are really.
A small subsection is we talk about guys that maybe aren't given the respect all the time. I don't know if AJ Brown has a huge Super Bowl. Maybe he's finally really talked about when you talk about
like the top receivers,
great guys. Yeah, I mean Devontae has a chance. I think I saw to be the only 5th person ever to win a national title, a Heisman, and a Super Bowl.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
It was something like that. I saw it on Twitter briefly. I'll look up the exact stat, but something like that. I mean, and I mean to your point, I think it's also like just a passing of the guard a little bit. So. Trying to think of like other personal,
Well, I think there's also the greatness of these teams.
Well, there's the Howie thing. I mean, if Howie wins, he's
Howie
in the Hall of Fame probably.
Hopefully, I think Jeffrey Lurie, Hall of Famer, like that.
Oh, good point. I forgot.
We don't talk about that.
Yeah, he certainly belongs.
Jeffrey Lurie should be, especially for all the good he's done.
Yeah, 100%.
Another one. I thought this is interesting. Bob Petrone put out this tweet earlier, and it kind of caught my attention because I've talked a lot about. I was talking about in the NFC Championship game how cool it was at 15-3 versus 15-4, like 2 great teams, and how Jalen getting in the Super Bowl, the numbers about guys who've had in the Super Bowl with only 1 loss and like 16 or 17 wins or whatever. This is only the 10th matchup in Super Bowl history with the best record, standalone, no tiebreakers, whatever, the best record in each conference facing each other in the Super Bowl.
Wow.
Isn't that pretty wild?
That is pretty wild.
It's only the 10th time
So
ever.
I do
And
think
it's 2 16-3 teams facing off in the Super Bowl. The 1 seeds. Like, I do think there is a the 2 best teams, the two great teams are squaring up in the Super Bowl. I think that's something that's probably not being talked about.
And I think now that the dust has settled, they are clearly the best 2 teams.
The 2 best teams.
I mean,
they were all year.
Yeah.
They were all year.
I mean,
we just stopped to look.
The Bills never put it together.
The Bills had a moment.
Yeah, and the Bengals did too. But ultimately, the Eagles and the Chiefs were the best 2 teams
all year.
And I think it's. I mean, even again, when you look at the numbers, everything I look up, it's like, the Eagles and Chiefs right next to each other and everything. Mm-hmm. So, I think they're the best 2 teams, and I think it's going to be a great Super Bowl, man.
I think it's a fun one. And then again, it's just
so many screenshots in your phone. It's hysterical.
Well, that's what I do.
I know. So I've started to do a little more too, but it is just funny to.
Also, funny pictures of us on my phone now.
I know. I was debating if we should tweet those out eventually.
Yeah. They're pretty funny, guys.
Small, quick thing.
Ooh.
What do you? I mean, are you good with the green jersey for the Super Bowl?
Was it green on white or whatever? I don't know.
They're wearing the green on white. I will say the Super Bowl patch is awesome.
I mean, they won a Super Bowl that way. So
I would have kind of been down with white jersey, black pants, black helmet.
Look, I
don't know. Jalen loves the black uniform.
Look, I think you do what you won the Super Bowl with.
Yeah, and it's their classic jersey. I'm good with it. If they would have done, white, black, I guess I could see don't do anything like gimmicky.
Don't do anything gimmicky.
That's a good point.
It's a Super Bowl. It's a win. All right. Anything else before we get to final thoughts?
No.
The clips are
45
minutes.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to keep that.
Thank you to everyone who tuned in, by the way. I feel like it's the most viewers.
41, does that say?
It says 41.
Yeah, a lot of comments too.
Awesome. Okay.
No big deal to us.
Well, after the pod, we'll say hi to everyone on here for a second or two, check some
hang
comments and
on
stuff.
for a
So a reason to check into the video when you can, and we always tweet
You
out.
can hear us read your name. Talk about
what a
thrill.
All right. As I said, my final thought will have to do with something you talked about, a sports one today. What do you got?
Okay, so it's not really a final thought, but it's just like things I was thinking about.
Yeah,
it's not like
I love
a take.
that.
I feel like the final thoughts turned into a take. This is more just something I've been thinking
It's
about.
thoughts and takes.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally, look at the title of my thing. For those who can see, is
no one can see that.
Random. You can see it there. Random thoughts and takes.
All right, there you go.
What I call my notes thing that I use for this pod.
It is good. I like the fire.
Random thoughts and takes. I got fire
and
emojis.
the heart.
I got hearts. I take look at how long it is. Like, I take this very seriously.
Look at all
this.
Look at all this. Set my game up.
I'm still going. Look at all this. These are all random thoughts and takes for this podcast. It's still going. Do you see it? I'm still scrolling.
It's
scrolling.
pretty wild.
Thank you.
Good job,
I try. I love everybody. Go
So I watched The Whale last night.
Oh, Brendan Fraser.
It was good. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I mean, I think it reinforced my idea that movies that win awards are not always.
Well, it's not. It didn't get nominated for a lot of awards. It's only really Fraser.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of people, from what I've heard, and I haven't seen it, a lot of people are like, he's good, movie's okay.
Yeah, the movie was fine.
It was
good.
I've heard the movie's not that great. Yeah. I heard he's very good.
I think that's a fair assessment. But
I will see it.
Here was the funny thing to me. You ready? You know what I forgot? So the SAG Awards, I vote for them. But like, how funny is this? We have this whole conversation about like who deserves to win what award. The voter, like man of the people. Like, I literally have a vote that decides what movies. So I don't know what the rules are. I guess I don't really care.
I don't think you should have rules. I think you just have to look at all.
I don't know if you're allowed
to
talk about who you're going to.
I think you
for.
have. Sure. Yeah. You can talk about your vote.
But how funny it would be if I just voted.
That's what I was gonna say. You have to look and see what made the most money. And just pick that one.
So here's a little tease. Ready? I think what I'm gonna do is on the day the Oscars come out, I'm gonna tweet like, "Here's how I'd rank the best pictures."
Just do it.
And I'm gonna do it by box office. Is that good?
Everyone look out for that.
Yeah, I completely forgot I get a vote for it.
Yeah. For SAG, not for Oscars.
For SAG, not for the Oscars.
It's pretty cool.
I should get a vote for the Oscar in the way that my voice should be heard.
Your voice should
Everyone's voice should be heard.
Okay, well, we don't see, in your case, we don't need Oscars votes. Everyone votes is the money they pay when they go to the box office.
Yeah, well, I think the most beautiful
thing, that means you love a movie.
The most beautiful thing about what you said is everybody votes. Yeah. I love that. I'm in on that.
Okay, here's my final thought. And it's a thought with what you're talking about. It's something I forgot to mention after the championship games, and I've just hung on to since then, and now you get to hear it now. And it goes back to Hurts and the messaging. I really think the end of each championship game can give you a little window into how these teams are looking at things.
Okay.
The fact that after the Eagles win, every single person who's talked to says one more. Every single one. Jalen Hurts, this is fine, one more. I don't even want this on me. These fans are great.
Right,
One
right.
more. Nick Sirianni. Oh, it's amazing. I've been dreaming this since I was 2 years old. One more. All the Chiefs talk about when they won. Oh, Burrowhead. Oh, you can't come in and beat Mahomes. Oh, they were slighted by the Bengals. They took that game so seriously. They were 0-3 against them. They wanted to beat the Bengals so bad in that game. Burrowhead so slighted. And the Eagles handle business and go, one more. I'm not saying that means the Eagles are going to win. I'm just saying it's notable to me. It is notable to me.
Sorry, I did
that the Chiefs cared that much about that. That was that. I'm not saying it was their Super Bowl, but I'm just saying I think the Chiefs really had an edge for that Bengals game because of the history, because of Burrowhead, because of all the crap that was talked. I think they had an edge for that game. And I don't know if they'll have the same edge against the Eagles. And I think the Eagles just have an edge every week because it's always one more.
All right. So my thoughts on that would be, one, I think that a lot, if your point is overall, I think in a lot after these games, it's always a lot of teams say one more. Now, I don't think that what the Eagles said is unique to them, but I think
I think it's been all season with this team though. That is their mentality. That's what we always
talk about. I get
it. Goes back to the Hurts every post game speech. Left more on the table. We can be better.
Yeah,
I think that is the mentality this Eagles team has: is we can be better. One more. We gotta get better. And the Chiefs were like, we beat Burrow at Arrowhead. It's now Arrowhead again. Yay! We really wanted this one.
Yeah,
just saying. That's the feeling.
I agree that they were clearly worked up by that. I think it's a unique situation.
It's the Super Bowl. I'm not saying they're not going to get up for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's interesting to me.
Yeah,
As someone who believes about a lot of these games are about motivation, a lot like football is about motivation. Sure. It's about mindset. It's about being ready. It's about standing up to the moment, all those things. And I think Mahomes will be ready and all. I'm just saying, it was notable to me, the messaging from each team after they won the championship.
I think there's a good chance. I think there's a good chance the Eagles come out as the more fired up team.
I would much rather be the Eagles after that. The way the Eagles were, as a fan of their teams, I'm much more excited that I'm an Eagles fan than Chiefs fan.
Well, to be
strictly
fair,
based off the message.
To be fair, the Eagles defenders have defended. I don't know why I said it that
defenders.
way. The Eagles defenders. The Eagles, the defenders have been tweeting out, paper team, so they've been doing it a little bit too. They didn't do as much after the game. You're right.
Well, that also has been related to the Niners bitching so much. And the one guy saying the refs, whatever. I think it's in response to after. In the moment, they win the game, they're focused.
Yeah, I agree with that. I have started to wonder about experience and if that matters in this game, but that's probably a topic.
It certainly didn't in 2017, did it?
No, it didn't.
It didn't matter one bit. You were going up against the most experienced.
Yeah, it didn't matter then. I agree.
Just saying.
I just begun to think about it.
Okay. I don't think it matters.
I don't know if it does either.
Especially I think the only spot it matters is understanding what you're getting yourselves into and understanding that the halftime show is longer and all these things.
Well, I think
the Eagles have that. First of all, they have players who've been there, and Howie Roseman's been there, and they're going to know that stuff. They knew it in 2017 because Doug had been there. All that stuff. Didn't matter in 2017. I don't think it matters.
I think the way it matters, and we'll wrap it up, is you really can't fall behind against this team. If they come out and they
relax, say this for next week.
Right.
He is so scared of the Chiefs. Relax.
Dude,
We got this.
We got
this. We are way better than the Chiefs. Way more time.
All right.
Way more time.
Way better.
And better messaging. We're going to talk to you guys on the video in a sec. Audio. We will be back tomorrow. That's what we do every freaking day.
It's crazy. Tomorrow's Friday already.
I know. We're getting there.
I can't believe we're going to Arizona.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
It'll be great. Yeah. He's on him.
All right.
Hey, guys.
Look at all that.
A lot of people this time. How's everyone
Do you
doing?
think Hurts needs surgery? That's a good question by Giovanni.
That is a good question.
I don't think so.
I mean, I'm surprised at how long it's seemed to linger.
Yeah.
And the fact that Hurts keeps talking about how it's bothering him. It's all right, dude, you all right, man?
When
enough.
the Eagles win the Super Bowl, does Dicker the kicker get a ring? Yeah, I think he does.
So I think it's anyone who really plays. Anyone who's
practice squad guys that got cut in preseason.
Really? It's that many? I knew it was active
remember
guys.
that Randall Godforth guy
they gave Howard Eskin a ring, so everyone should get a freaking ring.
Yeah.
Am I right? I mean, come on.
Shout out to
the real ones, Phil. I couldn't agree more.
Frankly, I think AJ Brown's injury is having a bigger impact on the passing game. I agree with that. I think that's why.
You're the only person who said that. I mentioned that on the midday show, and they made fun of me. So.
Yeah. I think that's a problem. Even with the yak, AJ hasn't been. I don't think his yak has been that good.
No, it's been other stuff.
Maybe I should put my face in it too.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, there you go.
I heard somebody say hamstring it. Well,
could be. It looked like that. It kind of
throw to Devontae was a great throw. I agree. Yeah. Typo. LOL. I thought we should have played Pascal more. That's probably the Pascal fan.
Is that Matt and Glenn's
I was
side?
going to say, yeah.
Matt, is that you?
This might take longer than I thought. Thank you guys so much for everybody.
I love every single one of you. If you come
Well, it's
and
also
hang
fun
out with
to
us,
see
it
them just
means the world
talking
me.
to each other, too.
Yeah, it's
Best
awesome.
part ever, go Birds. Love that. Agreed. Elliot is a snitch guy,
Wow.
kind of guy. Well, what's
You're a
funny is
snitch kind of
I
guy.
literally just said I wouldn't snitch on my brother.
Shout out
Elliot
to
and James,
P-Sheet.
yeah.
That's a long time you've been listening.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that, man.
Elliot wouldn't snitch.
Oh, we got a Fritz man. Scott, I will tell Jack that you are a
He'll
Fritz
love
man.
that,
Yeah, honestly, it's all he wants in this
Yeah,
world is
yeah.
to people to tell him
It
how
is what
great
he
he
wants,
is.
yes.
Yeah, I always say this, and this is for the YouTube crew. If Jack could walk into a room and say, "Do you know who I am?" everywhere he went, it would be the greatest day.
It would. Oh, yeah. Well, we might do a Super Bowl event, so we'll see.
We should.
You will be.
Elliot will
we
be
would
on.
do- I will be on Go Birds on
both
Saturday.
weeks. Today, tomorrow, 2 days from today, and then the following.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Gotta get
Thank
to
you,
work.
everyone,
Thank you
for
guys. We
listening.
love you.
See you. All right, I'm ending it now.